Art Collins with you again. I know you look to me to give you exciting systems that you can trade yourself, and your faith is justified because I do that so often for you. But today, we're going to do something a little bit different. I'd like you to walk through with me on something that I am coming up a little short on, okay? I've never made any bones about the fact I'm not the greatest programmer in the world. Uh, but that doesn't stop me from moving forward with ideas. I want to explore the possibility of market momentum in the S&Ps as century marks are hit. What are century marks? They're multiples of 100 in the S&Ps: 2,900, 3,000, 3,100, 3,200, 600, 5,500. They would all be examples of century marks. And my theory is that once a century mark is crossed, the market tends to continue in that direction. Now, here are some of the problems I'm facing right off the bat. I don't know how to pinpoint century marks in TradeStation. That's a biggie. And even if I did, when you have a price-specific system like this, you're going to get differences between actual contract months that traded in the past and the continuous contract, which is what I use for pretty much all my research. Doesn't matter if it's not price specific, okay? But maybe it really doesn't matter for something price specific either. You know, what I'm grappling with is if I have a system that on April 4th in the June contract crossed 2,400, for example, might not show crossing that mark until April 5th in the continuous. Well, maybe that's not so bad because we're just looking for a tendency of the momentum to persist. So maybe it doesn't matter that much. Also, we need rules to define a crossover to prevent constant up and back whipsaws. That's something that's going to make the coding even harder. In other words, you can't just say the second it crosses 3,100 because I guarantee you if you're buying at 3,100 and a quarter, 30.99 and three quarters is going to be hit back and forth like 57 times. So you got to have some sort of parameter that's far enough into the new territory. So as I'm standing here at this point in time, some options are I could post my question in a TradeStation discussion forum. That has worked for me better sometimes than others. Usually I'm very anxious when I want to look at something, and I don't like something that takes hours or sometimes even days to get back to me. Sometimes, it works fine though. I could try to squeeze a quick answer out of a TradeStation support phone line. Every once in a while, someone will slip up and give me what I want. Nothing I should count on, though, or you should. Try to find someone math savvy. Most of the math savvy people I know or knew are dead now, unfortunately. Or, and this is what I usually opt for, before I get too far into how viable a system I'm likely to be looking at, I want to do a walkthrough in Show Me. So I put up a weekly cash S&P chart. You go cash, you can go back even further than with futures. And just do a basic walkthrough without having the coding for getting exact century marks. I just did them manually. They're not exact because TradeStation has this annoying feature that It'll put a horizontal line on open, high, low closes, but not just arbitrary wherever you want them, but it's close enough. So you can see I got something that I can look at. If I want to break it down further into dailies, I can do that. But also, between the time I started this and now, I did get some help from the TradeStation discussion groups. This is what they gave me. Unfortunately, it's only a show me. I'd have to pursue this a little further to figure out how to make a system out of it. But that's what they give me for now. All right. Anyway, with everything that I've said, I think that a good entry point on the long side, first of all, for a long, you'd want to be coming from a lower territory that takes you through an entire 100 point amount between the two centuries. So it comes down from here underneath the bottom century, and you would be a buyer. I'm going to say it would be a good system to be a buyer at 20, and conversely, a good system maybe to be a seller at 80. Okay, so those are both 20 points away from the century mark. All right, so for this potential system, the setup would be market coming, series of closes, or at least a close underneath the century mark that you're in now. And you're going to be looking to activate as it crosses the higher century mark, vice versa. You're in a territory where the closes are coming from above the century mark above you. And we're going to be looking to the century mark below for a potential setup there. And specifically, we're going to use 20 points on the far side of the century marks. If it closes under a century mark, buy at the century mark plus 20 points on a stop. If the close is over a century mark, sell short at the century mark minus 20 points on a stop. Profit is the next century mark, 80 points away. So we're looking for 80 points, 80-point profits, roughly, minus slippage, which is twice the stop we're going to be looking for. Because if we enter along at 20, then the stop is going to be the 80 below the century mark. And if we enter short at 80, it's going to be 20 above the century mark. 40 points, 2-to-1 idea. Here's an example of where we'd surely be buying at 22.20, and it never goes back under, and we'd take 80 points there. And then we'd take another 80 points here. Same thing here, 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 here. Here it would fall back down, and we'd lose our first 40 points. We couldn't get short until this 80 level here, but we'd get our 80 points there. Then we'd lose 40 back as it reversed this way. This one just hits. You get the idea. Looks pretty cool. Admittedly, that's trending. I would be scrolling back. You get the idea. I'd probably be concluding at this point that it's certainly worth looking at. If they gave me the show me that you see here, then I can't imagine how a actual strategy wouldn't be possible. I'll work on it, and I'll get back to you. But for now, your takeaway should be necessity is the mother of invention. I'm a huge Frank Zappa fan. That did not influence me here. Because as you hypothesize beyond your coding ability, you'll learn more coding. And the new coding you learn will have additional applications. Sometimes many, many additional applications. So you'll be in a whole new stratosphere of testing. And finally, take this away. If you know how to code my proposed system, please share it with me. I realize this was a little different. Hope you got something out of it. Until later.